if you want to accomplish something, sometimes there's no point of giving yourself too much time. Sometimes it's much better to give yourself a short period of time to accomplish something, because this way you activate the most important resources at your disposal. Hi everyone, just want to share with you something that's called the Parkinson's principle. And actually, we just experienced it right now. So we've been filming and we just wrapped up the session, and I'm actually flying out of London tomorrow, right? So what happened was, during the last few hours of filming, we realized that we managed to get so much more done. We got into this flow state. And again, this has to do with the Parkinson's principle, which basically says that the perceived difficulty of a task is proportional to the time you allocate for the completion of this task. So for example, if you say to yourself, I have only 1 hour to film, then you probably will do your best to film what is really important. You're probably gonna do it properly because there's that extra pressure. But on the other hand, if you schedule a filming session, say a month in advance, and you keep thinking about it and you know you have to do it, then what's gonna happen is all of that pressure will increase the perceived difficulty and complexity of the task, right? Same thing works when you are a university student and you have to submit the paper. If your lecturer tells you, hey, you have to submit the paper in the next 3 days, you probably think, well, 3 days, okay, it's not a lot of time, so I'm just gonna get going right away. You don't have the time to worry, you just have to do what you have to do, right? You sit down, you do the research, and bam, you submit the paper. But if your lecturer tells you, you know what, you have 6 months to submit this paper, it could be the same paper, the same length, but then we have all this time to think about it. And what do most people do? Well, we procrastinate. We feel the resistance. So rather than doing what we have to do, we feel like, okay, I have that paper, but you don't do anything. So the perceived difficulty and complexity keeps going up. So when it's maybe 1 week or just a few days before the deadline, you realize, oh, holy shit, I actually have to do it right now because I've been procrastinating. But now the perceived difficulty is so big that you feel overwhelmed, and the resistance becomes even bigger and bigger. And it's just an interesting principle because basically it's the law of short deadlines, in other words, right? So if you want to accomplish something, sometimes there's no point of giving yourself too much time. Sometimes it's much better to give yourself a short period of time to accomplish something, because this way you activate the most important resources at your disposal. And this actually ties up to the 80-20 principle. So the Pareto principle says that 80% of your outcomes, results, consequences usually come roughly from 20% of inputs, actions, efforts, right? So essentially very few things really matter. It's also called the law of the vital few. And when you look at your life, I mean, this applies to pretty much anything, even little things like your wardrobe. So you buy a bunch of t-shirts. When you look at your wardrobe, you'll realize that you probably wear 20% of your t-shirts 80% of the time, right? And vice versa. When you look at sales organizations, you probably realize that most salespeople don't make that much money, but you have a very few salespeople who make the most money. So nothing in life is evenly distributed. And often as we look at life, at our to-do lists, we think, oh, everything is equally important. So say you have 10 things on your to-do list, you feel like if you knock 5 things out of 10, that's good enough. It doesn't really matter which 5 things you're gonna knock off, but the reality is that you could knock off just one task out of the entire to-do list and accomplish more, because that task falls into the 20 out of 80-20 part of the equation, right? So it actually links to the Parkinson's principle, because as you approach productivity, if you want to get more things done, then when you give yourself shorter deadlines, in a way you are forced to pick what's truly important. So for example, if you want to, I'm actually publishing a book, right? So I've written a book, I've been editing, and I'm actually now in this process of getting into this mental loop of, it's kind of ready, but I don't think it's ready yet. And I can sense that if I don't set myself like a tight deadline, the process will just take more and more time, right? So I think I'm at the stage where I need to actually put myself, create some type of deadline that's going to force me to really take action and to publish it. But this is what often happens in life in so many realms, right? You want to write a book, or you want to create an online course, or maybe you want to read a bunch of books. And then what happens is, if you give yourself a lot of time, then it's only a reason for procrastination, right? If you have a lot of time to complete something, it's easy to make an excuse and say to yourself, you know what, I have all this time, let me do something else, right? For example, if you have a dissertation to write, the most important thing you should be doing is doing a very specific research, but then writing. Writing is actually the most important thing. But most people, what they do is they start rationalizing, and you think to yourself, okay, I guess a part of my dissertation is learning about X, Y, and Z. So let me watch a TV series about it, right? Let me watch a documentary about that topic because it's going to contribute positively to my dissertation. But then after a few months, if you really think about it objectively, right? If you detach yourself from the situation, you realize, hold on a second, I've been spending all my time watching documentaries and Netflix, and because I rationalize that it's somewhat linked. And sure, it may be linked to some extent. But again, the most important thing in this case is to write the damn paper. The same applies to physical training. You want to get in shape, you want to lose weight, maybe you want to gain weight. It's very easy to get into this frame of, I have to learn more, I have to do more research, I have to figure out what to eat, I have to figure out how to train. But in the meantime, you are actually not training, and people ask you, hey, so when will you begin working out? And it's easy to say, well, I don't have all the info that I need. But the reality is that just going on the floor and doing a bunch of push-ups would be better than not doing anything. So as humans, we often fall into that negative pattern, right? That's why I'm talking about it now. I just got inspired to share this with you because, as I said, we literally just finished filming and I have to roll in a second. I have to pack my stuff. I'm going to central London to meet my friend, and then tomorrow I'm flying out of here. And because of that pressure of knowing, hey, when is the next time we're going to see each other? Maybe 2 months from now, maybe 3 months from now. Let's make the most of this time. Suddenly, it in a way forced the flow state, right? This time is too important. It's too precious not to be in a flow state.